Time being 7 o'clock, I'll call the Oxford Planning Board meeting of March 9th, 2020 to order. First on the agenda, plans not requiring subdivision approval. We have none. Skipping down to action items. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th, 2020.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Norman. Any discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Stay.
Carried. Okay, next, I'd like to go down to old business for a few minutes, so we can maybe wrap this up before the public hearing, continued public hearing. The large-scale ground mount energy solar system, discussion of the proposed zoning bylaw. We all received a new draft of the bylaw. And just curious, after you read it, do you feel it's worthy to send up, put on the warrant? I thought it looked pretty good
Yeah,
myself.
speaking personally, I think it looks really good, yeah.
Rich, what is the deadline for submitting it for the warrant? Do we have another couple of weeks? Because I haven't really had a chance to go through the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, are we gonna rush?
No, well, I don't know when they have to get it to be published per se,
Okay, so-
but I'm not gonna worry about it. All Mary really wanted to do tonight was schedule a public hearing. Okay, and that, she's doing that for April 7th, I think that was the date.
April 13th.
April 13th, so that's.
Oh, that's cool, we got plenty of time.
We got,
Yeah.
so,
I think like the one, usually it's at least like 2 or 3 weeks out, they have to be in.
the selectmen's concern was that they didn't want to, schedule anything on the warrant that wasn't complete, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
And Mary sent something that had just a draft version.
Right.
Everyone
Pretty close.
concerned, which is fine. All right, so we'll put off the, if you have anything and you want to get back to Mary, then that we think it should be updated, so we will do that.
Okay, yeah.
So,
So we're gonna schedule a public hearing for the
yeah,
13th?
entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for the warrant article on the solar, the solar bylaw for April 13th at 7:05 PM.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Seconded by Greg. Further discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Carried unanimous. Okay, you can see how fast tonight's meeting's going.
Yeah.
Okay. The time being 7:05, we have a continued public hearing, 8 Town Forest Road, application for special permit, site plan review and approval, stormwater management, land disturbance permit. Applicant owner Yield Holdings Incorporated, the construction of 11,985 square foot commercial building in Wilton. There was a Graves letter that raised some questions regarding stormwater management and some details on the drawings and that. I don't know.
Good evening, Carl Holton from Engineering. This is Nick Berger, Bernstein, the applicant. Yeah, there was a memo from Graves came out the day of the last meeting, I believe. We've since responded to that. Graves put out a new memo on March 2nd, and that says essentially that everything's been taken care of. In addition to that, Nick met with his neighbor, and I believe his neighbor's all set. He was concerned about groundwater on his property, and I don't want to speak for Nick, but if I'm wrong here, you guys met, went over the plan, and his concerns have been alleviated.
Okay. Yes, we did receive the memo from Graves, and basically they're all set. Everything was addressed.
Rich, can I ask a question?
Yep.
How were they alleviated?
Basically just the neighbor Keith had not really had a chance to look at the plan or understand sort of what we were proposing and how it relates to his site. So I had a conversation with him and also with his tenant. and showed them the plans, went over everything, explained the drainage, how our stormwater plan is, and what the water basically should do relative to their property, and that we're happy with it, so.
He's not here, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's part of it, and I would think that anything you're doing on that site should alleviate some of the water.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I think
Going under the
will
road.
improve his situation,
Yeah.
So I think as Nick mentioned, I don't think he's had a chance to look at the plan, and just so you guys know, his concern was groundwater seeping over on his property, under the road, basically. And so what we're doing here is we're cutting under the hill here, and as we do that, we install sub-drains under the pavement. So those sub-drains are gonna capture a lot of that groundwater that's gonna migrate across the road, and it's gonna put it on a drain system, it's gonna get piped down the road past his property. So I think that's gonna take a lot of his problem and put it on the surface and away from his property, none of that swale along the side of the road.
And that's not gonna overburden that swell in any way?
It's groundwater.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved by Norman,
I'll second it.
seconded by Jeff. Further discussion? Being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? I do have a question. This is the stormwater was a special permit. We've only got 4. I don't know if we can approve your plan tonight. Supposed to have 5 out of 7, number 4. I'm missing Dale. Dale was here last time, and Roger was here last time. And actually, unless you review the minutes and everything, you weren't here last meeting, so I think we can't do anything today. Can't do anything. We acknowledge that you satisfied Graves. Thanks, Roger.
Here it is. We're just waiting for you.
Want to start over?
Today's the day.
I still don't think we resolved the issue.
Can you open up the meeting and just,
I don't know, that's good, because Christine doesn't know about, and we did work on this at the last meeting, because she wasn't here. She has to sign a piece of paper that she reviewed the minutes and
Right.
whatnot. She hasn't done that.
Hold on, you need 5, right?
So,
And we have 5,
just
without Chris, don't we?
Yeah,
correct.
without Roger.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's why we're happy to
I guess
see
I
you.
was thinking
Well,
Dale was here. I guess
Probably
he
have
wasn't here
to, we
either.
still need to review it for Roger, I hope.
Okay.
I did go to OHS, don't challenge my math skills.
But we still have to review it for Roger, because we still have to know what
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Roger, before we close the public hearing, we'll
Yeah.
forget we made that
Send that.
motion. We've got a letter from Graves that basically says that the applicant has satisfied all of his concerns and came back with a clean report. Go ahead, why don't you
Yeah.
tell them,
Sure.
your
Yeah, so,
question with the neighbor
yeah,
again.
there was at our last meeting, we had unresolved comments from Graves, and we had a neighbor who was concerned about groundwater.
Yeah.
We've submitted new plans to Graves. Graves put out a memo on March 2nd, in essence saying everything's been taken care of. And then Nick met with his neighbor, they reviewed the plan, which I don't think the neighbor had a chance to review the plan before the last meeting. But after reviewing the plan, the neighbor seems to be all set with respect to his concerns have been alleviated, so that's basically where we are right now.
So anyway, we were in the middle, why don't we do it again? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I will make that
And
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion? Being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Nays? None? Abstention? You're gonna abstain, right? All right, so that passed. So now we have to
Motion to.
take a motion to, and make sure we use the right row
Yeah.
on the drawing and all that.
That's the 25th, right? I'll make a motion to approve this plan with a revised date of February 25th, 2020.
Yep. And a property erosion control plan dated
Yeah.
March 4th,
And the property erosion plan, yeah,
28th.
revised date of February 28th, 2020.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Second?
A second.
Second by Craig. Further discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Abstain.
Carried.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Excuse me, could you sign in
Oh, yeah.
there for me, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did that, yeah, I like that.
That's easy to see. It's not-
All right, you saw the whole agenda. That was it. Does anyone have anything to add to our business?
No, good for you.
Can I just, maybe, Norman might wanna go through like a Reader's Digest of the downtown meeting, Main Street,
All right.
what he took out of that maybe?
We had a meeting, the abutters, people owning property along Main Street between Front Street and Fairlawn Ave were notified. I would say it was about 100, 150 people showed up. Mr. Dival started the meeting. Basically, what the town is looking for, we talk about infrastructure. It seems like every presidential election, they talk about infrastructure and stuff. There is infrastructure money out there. And what the town is looking for is to get money as part of the Complete Streets program to do work in our downtown area. And Roger was there, so Roger, sometimes I forget, so don't forget that. Anyway, there's money available according to the DPW director. We're talking millions of dollars to address some of the concerns that were raised during the survey for our master plan. There were some things that were very important to people. We don't want to lose any downtown parking. They want to improve the rate of traffic coming from 395 heading east. That can be done by the new technology as far as controlling the sequence of the traffic light. They're going to deal with making downtown accessible to handicapped people. They want to redo the sidewalks. One of the issues was the speed of heading north and south on Main Street. They feel that the plan could help address that. We made it very clear that the planning board does not want to lose any on-street parking. And there was some other questions asked. For example, some people felt it would be more important that we took the money and did other secondary roads in town. And it was stated to them that that money cannot be used for that. It's earmarked specifically for projects like our downtown area. So end result is they're going to go back, the engineers, and they're going to work on the plan based on the decisions that, the input that the citizens had. And they're going to present another plan, an improved plan hopefully, and there'll be more input. And in terms of costs of the town share of this would be about 8%, and that is to cover the engineering cost. And that can be put in our regular general government budget. So end result is there'll be no override, no debt exclusion, no raises in taxes for this particular project. So that's where we're at. We're looking at an opportunity to get a significant amount of money to deal with some of the issues that we have. Anything else, Roger?
No, I mean, one of the big things that, people brought up repeatedly was, the crosswalks in town and how they're not visible enough. They don't feel that they're safe. There were some people that had, more negative comments about some of the things that Complete Streets requires, like the bike lanes and that kind of stuff. So, I think there's gonna have to be more education, more discussion with, folks, and, people don't want it pushed down their throat, is kind of essentially the big issue. And like Norman said, there's a big concern about parking in the center of town, yet people want the safety factor too. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? You have parking there, those are obstacles for drivers. The same thing with the bike lanes and stuff like that. And they explain some things like the bike lanes are actually gonna be out of the path of traffic, so it's not gonna be, yet another obstacle for drivers. So, I don't know, I think that pretty much covers most of it.
Are they at a point now where, they're gonna go with the full design, or are we still? kind of
No, I
waiting?
think we're way away from that.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I think this is gonna be several, reiterations.
We could be several years away from getting the project started. This is.
So no field work has been done yet?
No,
right?
no,
All
no.
right.
The engineers did do some, they evaluated traffic and
Right.
they did address some safety concerns and stuff like that. It's preliminary,
Mm.
like Roger said. They're gonna bring a plan, I'm sure we'll have another meeting, we'll
Yeah.
kick it around.
Does that program allow you to generate off-street parking to compensate for on-street parking?
I think
Like creating a satellite lot that's
Yeah.
near, let's say go down Maple Street, oh, is that Maple Street? The one that's right by the, goes right by the school. In the
That's
back
Maple,
there, there used to be
Maple
Joslin
Road,
School.
Yeah,
yeah.
Used to be it's an old vacant lot,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Maybe they should think about.
Yeah, I think a lot of those things are still open for discussion.
Yeah, I would encourage it because I went by the other, someone prominent must have died. And there were cars all over the main street on both sides in the breakdown lanes for half a mile, all through this whole area just because they were going to Paradise Funeral.
if you remember, one of the things people wanted was more small business downtown.
Yeah.
So if we lose any parking, on-street parking, it defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. So I think we made it pretty clear that they really need to,
I mean, let's face it,
Continue.
we've been allowing illegal parking going
Right.
on, for things like that.
Yeah.
That was
Absolutely.
actually brought up too,
Yeah.
like, a lot of the people are doing parallel parking on Main Street, but, those aren't really, it's a state
Those
road.
aren't-
It's a break, it's a breakdown.
shoulder.
It's a breakdown.
Are we talking, no, we're not talking about right in the center, right? You're talking about off from the center?
Yeah, like probably, heading.
in front of the
further
funeral
south.
parlor.
You know, Paolo,
It show, what they're gonna do is they're gonna mark every parking space. Right now, there's no parking spaces. So every parking space there'll be lines identifying it. And as far as the center of town, they're gonna pretty much leave that the way it is, because they realize that that's, I think, I,
Well, when there shouldn't be a problem with the center. I mean, that was
No.
all designed based
Well,
on
we've had other
ADA.
small businesses asking if it was okay,
And we could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
if they could have some on-street
Dedi-
parking.
Dedicated on-street parking to them, like even if it's two to four spaces, yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah. But that would all go away if you had some satellite lots on
Yeah.
each side of
But I
Main
think,
Street.
yeah, I think to Rich's point, having the off-street parking and having municipal lots, I think
Yeah,
would
municipal
would make
lots.
a big difference. People don't really know where there's, people coming into town have no idea that they can go and park, less than a quarter mile away or whatever.
absolutely. They talked about like having one like behind where CVS is and the insurance company. You got all separate parking lots. They had talked at one point, we had talked about making a one ensign, doing the whole thing. But that involves getting all the property owners together.
Wasn't that done when they did the center of town?
No.
Because there was money, I'm pretty sure there was money used to redo that area
Mhm.
and behind Days End.
Yeah,
That was part of the package.
Yeah,
So I think there was already some kind of agreement.
They might have
Yeah,
done it.
they kind of looked at, that was back when they wanted to see if common funds would move forward, and stuff like that, and the parking would be in back. And there was a whole plan, which was gonna be a roundabout, all those plans were.
Yeah, the roundabout, we would have lost most of our parking downtown and that kind of shut the whole thing down.
Right.
Anyway, again, it's gonna be a process.
Right.
Before people panic and make their mind up, we really need to try to get this funding. And I think the emphasis got to be put on the plan and something that works for everybody. And I would encourage anybody to be aware that there'll be another meeting coming up. It might be 6 months away. And the next plan we get will be more definitive. But I think there was a lot of good input from the people that were there about what we wanted and what we didn't want. I thought it was worthwhile.
And it was good to see people there too, because I think a lot of times, people in town are misinformed and they have their own opinions, and, thankfully they have Norm on Facebook, they're trying to.
Well, I make one comment, just, I usually make one comment, like, keep your cool, let's wait to get all the information, and then we can decide. Too many people are against it and for it already, we don't even have a plan yet,
Right.
so, I'm
That's
not
a
gonna
good-
say anymore, but it's, like I said,
That's a good turnout, though, that's a good.
Yeah.
it was a good
Yeah.
turnout. It was a good turnout.
Was there enough room?
It was standing room only, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I was.
I think next time, we probably have to have a place where we can hold more people.
Probably at the high school.
I thought it was I mean, I talked to some people going in, I overheard people going in, oh, we're not gonna do this. And then coming out, they're saying, geez, we got a chance to get all that money, we need to hold off on our decision, so.
Well, that one kid at the end actually had a good point about that, right? He's like, let's see what the state's gonna pay for and what our cost is gonna be, in dollars. But then let's see what it would cost to do, the minimal things that we think need to be done, like the crosswalk lighting
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And where do we come out ahead? And I think you made a good point, but I think if we do that and present it that way too, people are gonna have a much different opinion.
From what I talked a little bit of Sean, to do the traffic light and the sidewalks would probably be more money than it would cost us to put up for the engineering.
Oh, yeah.
But again, that's just
Yeah.
conversation, like you said, it's important to have those numbers and, get people the information and let them make the right
And
decision.
unfortunately, when the town's ponying up the money for this stuff, a lot of times we're kind of forced to go with, lowest bidder or whatever. Because Sean and I talked a few years ago, at master plan, we
Mhm.
talked about the crosswalks and can we get, the lighted signs or, whatever, something that's more visible. And he was looking into it, back 2, 3, 4 years ago. So it's, just a matter of cost. So if we can get the state to pay for something that's a little more
Absolutely.
progressive.
So what happened,
let's
so
do
he
that.
looked into it 2 or 3 years ago, what did he come up with?
I think that it was just cost prohibitive at the time. I mean,
The process of doing this started 2 years ago. This is how long it takes to develop these types of plans. You just don't, he said, I know he's had a number of meetings with engineers and consultants and stuff. The town spent a little bit of money so far, it's like seed money. So again, it's a process, it's not gonna take a year or two. It could take several years before we actually get the funds. It's just like Charlton Street. It took years to get that money in the process and get the plans and stuff. And to do that, we had to put a bike path in, that's how we got the money, that's how we got the bike path. And I thought for a first meeting it was good, it kind of broke the ice, and I would expect a lot more information from the second meeting. And hopefully you guys will be able to go, because it's a major investment, and it's a major change in our downtown area.
And I'd like to, if you talk to people, encourage them to go to these meetings, because, you hear things at the meeting, somebody asks a question that maybe you didn't even think of, and then you get answers to some things. Like, one of the things that they talked about that I didn't really realize was happening is they figure that people are using Main Street as like a bypass for 395 when they're, when 395 is backed up. So they're using it like a highway. I never really considered that, but I do know down my end of town, that's like a raceway now because you got IPG down there. So let's, let the experts figure out the traffic patterns.
Is IPG, I noticed that they've done some traffic signal work. Is that all approved, that whole intersection?
I thought I saw
Yeah,
them up
yeah.
there today, actually.
Didn't we got a couple $1 million? The
Yeah.
state's funding a lot of that. IPG, I'm wrong, Rich,
IPG
correct-
picked it up.
they funded the engineering and the initial part, and I believe the state's come in with a couple $1 million to do the road and put a traffic light down.
Wow.
Again, we're getting state aid whenever we can get it, and people need to understand that, and I tell people this all the time, my wife calls me the master plan man, because every time I get a chance to say it, get a copy of the master plan, and you're gonna find out everything about the town, from the history, from what, we had what, Roger, about, when we did the request for input from the citizens, it was like 5,500 residents, the houses or residential units in the town. And between the survey that we sent out and the open meetings we had, we received responses for about 2,500 people.
Yeah.
So we have a real good basis for developing the master plan. And some of the things that people talk about, for example, there were 3 things. You want to keep going, you want me to shut up?
Keep going.
There were 3 things that we required, that 3 parts of our infrastructure that the town needed to deal with within that 10-year period, from 217 to 227. We had to deal with the DEP, the DPW, the community center and the roads. And a lot of these things that you see coming up at town meetings, a lot of the bylaw changes and zoning changes that we made are a result of that. So the town is trying to come up with solutions. A couple of things in the end is gonna come out from the taxpayers. And again, we're looking at federal aid to do some of the other things. I make a motion, we adjourn.
I
Second.
second it.
Okay, so you go, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.